The Dark Truth About E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, 1982. In 1982, an alien with glowing fingers ruled the cinema screens and swept the audience away. He didn't plan to conquer the world or destroy humanity. He just wanted to phone home. It was magical and heartwarming and seemed original. But halfway across the globe, one of cinema's masters, Satyajit Ray, wasn't really pleased. He watched the story in utter disbelief, one he had written 15 years earlier and that Hollywood had already seen. This is the dark truth about E.T., the extraterrestrial you did not know. Subscribe for the biggest battle of ideas across the continents. Satyajit Ray versus Steven Spielberg.
How tall you are? I'm 4'6". You must be around 3.
Different films with an uncanny echo. In 1982, Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial was released in theaters and swiftly became an international phenomenon. Who doesn't love a gentle, wide-eyed alien befriending a suburban boy? He revives a wilting plant while hiding from authorities and ultimately takes his leave in a tearful and iconic farewell. Nearly 2 decades earlier, Satyajit Ray was already a renowned name known for films like Pather Panchali. He wrote a screenplay titled The Alien in 1967, inspired by his 1962 short story Banku Babur Bandhu. To everyone's surprise, Ray's script also described a benign extraterrestrial arriving in rural Bengal, contacting a young boy named Haba. This alien displays mysterious powers and is being pursued by various authorities and scientific figures. Does that ring a bell? If not, then the next information surely will. Ray's alien character has magical powers that affect flora and fauna. Basically, Galaxy's first eco-activist. I am sure you can see how both stories beat the same. An alien becoming friends with a child. Said alien has plant revival powers, an air of secrecy, and sympathetic and suspicious authorities or scientists. These are the raw materials that sparked decades of discussion about influence and credit. The similarity is undeniable, but it's the interpretation where things get complicated. But one thing's for sure, before E.T. phoned home, maybe he should have phoned Bengal for permission.
It's working!
Oh.
You did it! It's working!
What happened with Ray's old script? Ray traveled to Hollywood in the late 1960s to work on his screenplay after Columbia Pictures expressed interest in a co-production between India and the U.S. Contemporary. Reports note that Peter Sellers was involved and Columbia had a development deal. Ray's biographer and archival records show that he did try to develop the screenplay within Hollywood networks and that Columbia periodically revived interest through the 1970s. But the production soon fell apart for a mix of practical reasons, including financing, contractual problems, and an alleged deceptive behavior by Ray's Hollywood representative. Records and accounts also name a man called Mike, short for Michael Wilson, who was acting as Ray's representative and had registered the screenplay rights in the U.S. He was listed on copyright paperwork, which left Ray outraged and frustrated. Marlon Brando was at one point reported to be connected with the project, but to have dropped out because of various attempts at replacing him with others. To sum it all up, yes, Ray wrote a script, and yes, Hollywood showed interest, but due to many unlucky circumstances, the project kept being stalled and was ultimately abandoned.
E.T. phone home. Home. Phone home. Phone home.
Does this mean they're coming?
Yes.
Who actually saw the script? According to veteran writers close to him, Ray once said, E.T. would not have been possible without my script of the alien being available throughout America in my mimeographed copies. Scholars and journalists who have studied the episode agree that the screenplay reached American industry hands, and the archive paperwork and correspondence in the Ray collections also support that it was discussed in studio circles. But Spielberg countered by pointing out that when the script was circulating in Hollywood, he wasn't even out of high school. A popular name such as Arthur C. Clarke stood out. He knew Ray personally and had been a friendly correspondent. When he saw some later U.S. films, he admitted to finding striking similarities between Ray's screenplay and the films that alarmed him at his core. He wrote to Ray in 1983 and advised his old friend not to go to court or think about initiating a costly legal battle. As the script circulated, Clarke noticed parallels, but his advice remained the same.
Look what I made for you.
Spielberg's side of the story. Steven Spielberg and his camp denied any knowledge of Ray's screenplay at the time he made E.T. The commonly quoted line about him being in high school has been picked up by a few keen observers who noted a major inconsistency. Spielberg graduated from high school in 1965 and began directing professionally by the late 1960s, so he was not an industry outsider for long. Still, a denial of conscious borrowing stands on record. Meanwhile, the studios involved created a questionable overlap. Columbia, which had been associated with Ray's project in the 1960s, later distributed E.T. in the early 1980s. This studio link, together with the earlier circulation of Ray's screenplay, is part of what makes the parallels so compelling to many commentators. But as Spielberg would say, possible access is not enough to claim direct plagiarism, is it? Film historians who have examined Ray's papers, the press coverage and interviews conclude that while influence is plausible, hard legal proof has not been produced. So, while you can keep the gossip alive and pick whatever side suits you best, an undisputable plagiarism verdict is far from being found.
Your anus. He doesn't get it.
This'll image you.
And you're such a sinner supremus.
Zero charisma.
Sinner supremus.
Zero charisma.
Sinner supremus.
Shut up, Greg!
Similarities versus reasonable doubts. Observers and many of Ray's defenders point to several specific echoes between the alien and E.T. Some of them include a non-hostile, childlike extraterrestrial, the alien's apparent ability to revive plants or affect nature, its friendship with a boy, an institutional or scientific national interest in the creature, and a visual emphasis on the alien's small, fragile body and distinctive hand movements. Ray's own script includes a memorable scene where an alien passes its hand over a plant and flowers appear, and the film E.T. famously shows a plant revived by the alien. Ray's screenplay even describes slow, delicate limb movement that many thought resembled E.T.'s gestures. Can you imagine being in Ray's shoes and watching someone win an Oscar for something you wrote? That's not extraterrestrial, that's extra frustrating. At the same time, there are plausible reasons to give the creators of E.T. the benefit of the doubt. It's important to note that in the 1960s and 1970s, the trope of a benevolent alien befriending a child on Earth was a widespread narrative in science fiction and children's stories. Secondly, Spielberg's supporters argue that his work evolved from his own prior obsessions, like the ones seen in his production Close Encounters, and from the broader genre conversations of the era. And lastly, no lawsuit was ever filed, in fact. There is evidence of respected and trusted figures advising Ray not to pursue one at all. This shows how weak the allegations truly were, and there was no solid evidence of intellectual theft.
Okay, Mom, you can look now.
Lessons after the dust settles. The controversy may not have found its true verdict, but it reveals an uneasy lesson about how ideas move across cultural and industrial boundaries. The core facts are straightforward and supported by archival material. Ray wrote The Alien in 1967, and he pursued development in Hollywood with Columbia and at times attached major names. Unfortunately, the project failed, but a few copies of the screenplay did circulate in the United States. Fast forward more than a decade, and E.T. found its way to the big screen with a strikingly similar essence to Ray's previous work. Like any artist would, Ray also believed his script had influenced the later film, but as soon as he got too close to claiming piracy, Clarke saved the day by urging him not to sue. What is not proven in the public record is a direct chain from Ray's pages to Spielberg's final screenplay that would satisfy a court. This is the ambiguity that matters because it allows two truths to exist at the same time. No doubt that Ray's idea predated E.T., but documentary proof of deliberate copying is missing. The story underscores power imbalances in international film cultures, that unproduced work from a non-Western master can be eclipsed by a blockbuster, and the historical record may never fully restore credit. If nothing else, the tale invites us to honor Ray's imagination and to read E.T. and other such works with a keener sense of its possible antecedents. Honestly, if an alien ever borrows my plot, I will at least expect it to bring snacks. Hershey's Kisses, obviously.
I just wanted to say goodbye.
Be good.
Yes.
So all the glowing fingers, flying bikes, and courtroom trips that almost happened remind us how inspiration travels faster than light. Ray didn't get his due credit this time, but we hope the next time aliens come over, they bring royalties for the man who created it all. For now, hit subscribe before Ray sues you for underappreciating cinematic art, and this YouTube channel.